Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 848 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles. Very special show today because we've got David Bray, we've got Ben Askren, and we've got Olympic champion, multiple world champion. We got four Hodges on the show because David Taylor's here. David, what's going on, man? Thanks for hopping on.
Not much. Good to be here.
Good to have you. Coming up on around a month, David, since you won your world title, another world title. How's it been since you got back? And as you reflected on your tournament and your performance, maybe, we spoke with you immediately after, but what are your thoughts maybe a month after that performance against particularly Yazdani?
Well, it's been busy since I got home. My wife always calls me the vortex, and I feel like when I'm not training, it's just like spinning out of control, basically. So it's been a lot of stuff. I mean, we came home, right away, went out to the P&L in Chicago and competed there, then got home. And 2 weeks later, we're at Super 32. Just got back from Super 32. So been spending a lot of time doing that as well, just mixing a handful of other things. But it's been good. And I feel like after the Olympics, I just never really got time to take a break, and it led right into kind of in my opinion, kind of like a half-assed performance at the World Championships last year. And then that kind of just ate at me all year. So, this year going to World Championships, a little more focused and, now being able to kind of take a little bit of time off, I think has been really valuable for me.
As you look back on that match against Yazdani, everyone watched was just thoroughly impressed with the level of dominance you displayed. Where does that performance, that individual match performance kind of rank for you in terms of this is one of my best individual match performances I've had?
Probably the best, I think for the caliber, of competition. And, I think when you look at kind of the dynamic of our matches where, the first one, I beat him, but probably a lot about conditioning. The second one, he was definitely prepared. Probably still conditioning was still pretty factored into it. And whereas the last two matches were pretty close, he made some good adjustments and, it was the Olympics came down to the last second, the World Championships again, we're pretty close. I mean, really at the World Championships last year, he really kind of dominated me, even though the score didn't really reflect necessarily that. And I still was close, but I mean, it definitely wasn't a match like it had been in the past. So the momentum had kind of been shifted, I feel like. But I think you got to factor in just the situation. I had won the Olympics, kind of going to the Worlds with really not much to really be excited about. He just lost in the last second. So he's hungry, for 8 weeks leading into that competition. But again, just where it ended. And then to go into this one and, from really the first whistle, I feel like I dominated the match. It was the first match where I scored first. And I was able to continue scoring. And he really was. I mean, you take away a shot clock point, he didn't score at all. So definitely a big difference from the last handful of matches. So I'm really proud of it. And I feel like it's probably my best performance I've had.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that match, to your point, you technically dominated. And that all your other matches were not like that with him. And I can't really, I guess maybe shut down his underhook, but I can't really identify something that's really clear. You did this and that led to way, way more openings for yourself. But what was it? Are you not telling us?
I'm going to have to wrestle him again, right? I'm going to have to wrestle him 2 more times at least.
I don't think he understands English.
I think they know English better than you think they know.
Someone will translate it. Yeah.
No, they can't.
No, but I think, honestly, the difference, he had done a good job, with just underhooking me and slowing me down and all those matches. I wouldn't say slowing me down. It's just his best position.
Yes.
He's so dominant with that underhook. And I've said it before, when he gets to his underhook, it's like being in a washing machine. You're just pressure, snap. And it's hard to get a rhythm going. Not only is it slowing me down, it's hard to get a rhythm going. And all previous matches, when I went into them, I was aware of the underhook, but in my mind, I was like, I'm going to score. I'm going to get to him. Probably thought I'd out condition him. But I felt like, in the last two matches, he had made it where there wasn't a lot of wrestling exchanges. Or in this one, just being a little more proactive about not hanging in my tie-ups. It was, in my mind, it was like, it's either my tie or it's nobody's tie. And I felt like he just never could grab me. He could never slow me down. He never could hold me. And that just added up. It added up, from the first whistle really all the way through. And I just felt like, going into it with this year, I'd made my mind up. Like, I'm wrestling only to beat Yazdani. I know I'll beat everybody else, but I'm specifically training every single day to work in a few positions, and knowing that if I put the time into these, that I can beat them. And I felt like if I did those things, I can make it not close. And I was able to go execute that.
With you were really candid, kind of after Final X and the Worlds, you were contemplating retirement. How much does a performance like the one you just had give you more momentum to continue compete through the quad, maybe beyond that?
Yeah, it definitely, reinvigorates me, because I was kind of at this my whole life. Like, everything I'd done since I was a little kid was revolved around trying to be the Olympic champion. As a kid, it was like, you just say something because it's the biggest goal, but you don't really understand what that means. And I feel like in the last 5 years, it puts a lot of perspective on it, because, it was, obviously faced a lot of adversity where I felt like I was the best wrestler, but I wasn't making teams. I was like right in the mix. Making that jump up and then dedicating everything. Like, our whole life was dedicated towards 2020, which became 2021. That period of time, once I won the Worlds in 2018, then I got hurt and I was out. Then we missed a whole year in 2020 and everything was postponed. I just got burnt out. It was 2 years of like this, like, crazy, intense, dedicated training mindset, like no room for anything else type thing. And it wore on me. So once the Olympics were over, I was ready to be done. I just didn't really, and I think with the Worlds being so close, I was, just winning, it's easy to right off of win to want to jump right back into it. But shortly after I started training, I was like, man, I don't want to be here. And I feel like that just lingered all year this year. But I kept telling myself, I'm a competitor, and when the lights are on, I'll be back. And I feel like 2 weeks before, I think also just like knowing that this year's training was not very good for me in comparison to the past. I just felt like I had to be 100% present and focused when I wrestled them with a specific plan. And I feel like that kind of got me refocused. And then after the match is over, now it's like, okay, I learned I can do it differently than what I'd done in the past, and probably have more longevity now after making some adjustments and just, my training and probably just the way that I approach kind of every day.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's can we dig in on that? Because that's I think for our youth and high school wrestlers, they don't have anything as extreme as you did, where you said, it's kind of a 2-year grind because the Olympics got pushed back a year, right? So between 2019 and then 2021 is a really, really long time. And you said it was really hard. Maybe you lost a little bit of passion or something like that. So, because I have a lot of youth wrestlers, well, most of high school, who say something like this at some time, not all the time. And so what would you say to them? Because you coach a club now, they're feeling that way. And you can say, I felt this way, and here's what I did. What would you say to them?
Yeah, it's tough. When I say it's like a 2-year grind, I mean, I've been grinding like that, 2 practices a day since I was in 7th grade, where it's like, if you weren't practicing, you weren't getting better,
Mm-hmm.
And, so it kind of goes way back, and it's just kind of been, but the last 2 years were like definitely the most difficult thing. And I constantly have this conversation with kids all the time. I'm like, man, this is a time that you can take a week off. You should take it, because you know what it's going to be like down the road, and I think everybody gets stuck in this, and we all do. And I think that's the power of like our positions of, being club coaches, is we can relate back to our competitive careers at really high level. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, if you can take some time, take it, and understand there's a bigger picture to things. But it's definitely a challenge. It's a challenge for me as a competitor. It's definitely a challenge, as a coach and for the kids. But I just think, your term, you feel like you got to do all this work, and you do have to do the work. But it has to be smart, or your body will break down. Your mind will break down. It doesn't matter how tough you are, at some point, you just can't do it if you're never giving yourself a little bit of a break. And that's the conversation that I try and have with them, as much as I can.
Yeah, for sure.
David, oh, go ahead, Ben. Go ahead if you're following.
Well, I wanted, it's really funny because Christian sent me an audio text that was very insightful last night. And I won't get too much into it, but David, given, you this 2-day thing. And so I want to pair it with, and I know you're not going to tell me Kale's secrets. I've been trying to get those out of you guys for a decade now, but what Penn State alleges to make it about, and I think it's true, is that you guys don't have this insane grind like maybe some of the other programs. And you spend a lot of time positionally, and you use the word fun a lot, which I'm not so certain on that word or the word usage of it in this case. But so I guess, how do you pair that with you now, saying, hey, I'm older, and the grind and this stuff is like, would you have made it, if you could go back to your college days, would you have made it even easier a little bit for yourself, or you think it was exactly what you needed and now you needed to go a little easier as you're older, or kind of like, right? Because you said since 7th grade, so now we're going on close to 20 years for you, probably somewhere in there. Like, how would you talk to your past self, if you could, about the training volume and intensity kind of every step along the way?
I mean, it's definitely a good question. And I think about that a lot. And I think about that all the time because, with the kids that I coach, like I'm constantly going back and forth. Mark McKnight and myself, and Brad Pataki were like, as kids, we did this, but we don't really think it's the best thing now. But I think there's an element that it's important to go through some of that stuff just to like harden your mind and your body that you can do it. When you're, for example, Super 32, it's like the toughest tournament you've ever been to in the first day. And then the second day, it's a tougher tournament. And you got to be able to like grind through 7, 8 matches, 10 matches. And if you've never really pushed yourself and you're in those matches, it's kind of hard to find a way to get through it.
Yes.
But my training was hard, because I grew up and I didn't have really training partners. So we were on the road all the time. So I didn't really have a ton of volume. I competed a lot to make up the difference. When I moved to Ohio in 6th grade, that was where it was like, literally, it was twice a day, every day. If you took a day off, it was like you weren't working hard, a lot of, then like the weight, and you throw the weight cut in there, I didn't really cut weight to my junior year. I cut a lot of weight my junior year. Then I jumped up to 135 my senior year, which alleviated some of that. And I feel like that 6th grade through 12th grade, that 6 years like aged me significantly. I was just hurt all the time back then, but I was always pushing through it. So when I got to college and realized, you don't have to necessarily do that all the time to be the best. But I was still managing a lot of the injuries I'd had from kind of the past that kind of added up. And then still cutting weight in college. I probably, looking back, I'd say the biggest thing I would change, I wouldn't change it because it was the way that, our teams were the best. But selfishly, if I was only thinking about myself, I would have gone up in weight class in college. And I feel like that would have alleviated a lot of, that was pretty taxing. Making 165 was pretty taxing.
In the beginning or in the end, or all of the times?
My junior and senior year specifically. I think, if you're on a different team where, team is an important aspect, then I would have been up at 174, potentially 184. I could have probably started that growth process a lot earlier. But I just didn't probably in my mind believe that in my mind, I believed it was the best weight, and I also in my mind thought I had to be at 163 when I was done. So I had to hold my weight down.
Because there was no 79 back then.
No, it was just 185. And it just seemed like such an impossible jump at the time. So I feel like those years are where if I had to go back and change anything, it would maybe be those years, but I wouldn't change it because of the success we had as our team. And obviously it just set a foundation for me during that time. But that was I was really challenging. I'd say looking back, that like 6th grade through 12th grade time, and then the weight cut when I was in college. That just kind of, I feel like stalemated or stagnated some growth wrestling wise, because I was focused on weight cutting a lot. And then once I went up, then I was able to kind of refocus on getting better at wrestling again. But if I go back and man, I could have got better in this 5 years. I could have probably, if I could spend more effort into getting better at wrestling, maybe be different. But if I didn't go through adversity and those losses, then I probably wouldn't be motivated to still be doing it now. So, I don't want to go back and change those things, but that definitely took a big toll on my body that period of time.
Nice. Can I keep rolling, Christian? Yeah.
Roll, baby.
I'm stealing all your questions. Hey, so I know the answer for me, and the answer for me is no one was doing it prior to me, so I never ever envisioned myself doing it. Did you envision yourself wrestling into your 30s?
No, I
Never.
don't think so. I mean, I just thought I was going to graduate and win. I was like, I'm just going to
And then
graduate.
be done?
What?
And then be done.
Yeah, I just never thought, I feel like wrestling in your 30 was like a thing that people just didn't do that.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. So, it's different. I'll be 32 in December, having 2 kids and a lot of other things going on. It's way different than when I was younger. So that's why I tell kids, I'm like, man, just make the most of your time now, because it definitely doesn't get any easier when you get older. You got a lot of more responsibilities. But I think when you have more responsibilities, you prioritize your training and look forward to it, because maybe your window is a little differently. So
I got kids, so I was thinking like, dude, going to train with your buddies is way better than listening to a 2-year-old cry.
my wife says all the time, she's like, it's not work, you're hanging out with your friends.
It's so true. It's so true.
I hear that one too.
Yeah.
We actually have something in common, guys.
Yeah. Hey, let's get into this James Green thing. We talked about it on Monday. I gave my opinion. Some people were upset about this, but I thought he said it totally fine. I don't necessarily totally agree with his sentiment, but I'm very curious to hear what you say. James Green said on Twitter, a lot of good wrestling in Super there too. That being said, I don't know if it's just me, but I don't see enough baseline defense going on, and I don't like it. I gave my 2 cents on Monday. What do you feel about that?
There's not much baseline defense anymore. I mean, I think that's definitely, but I feel like kids have evolved in the way they can defend. I just think it just changed. But I feel like, baseline defense is still really important. I think people could probably prioritize it, because this is my argument with it. Because I talk this with my kids all the time. Like, we could teach, and I did this. I rolled across my back. I defended that way, focused out all the time. But the way that I scrambled, it set me back. I had a really hard time learning how to defend leg attacks and freestyle against the best guys, because my first instinct was to flip and flop and roll. So I think I try and tell our guys, like, hey, we need to focus on baseline, because it translates instantly into freestyle. You don't have to I hear this all the time. Like, they're like, well, it's freestyle season. Well, it doesn't change anything. All the skills and techniques that we do are the exact same. We're just rewarded now by pushing guys out of bounds and, exposing them. So I think.
Wait, so can I push back on that a little bit? Because this is Max and I talk about this discussion a lot. So you said, and because I had the exact same experience. When I went to freestyle, my baseline skills were not good enough. And I had to work on them a lot, right? Because I did rely on the scrambling. And what Max would say to that would be, Ben, what percentage of the guys you coach are going to wrestle really competitively at the international level? And it's like maybe 1 to 2, 3% if we're lucky, right? So it's like, so should we put all of our effort in that? Or versus what percent can wrestle in college? And, for us, that's probably 20%, 30%, somewhere in there, So should we coach to the 20 or 30%, or should we coach to 2 or 3%? How do you feel about that?
But your club wrestles U17s, U20s, trying to make world every summer.
Of course.
So I would say, like, when you switch everyone over to those, and we switched to freestyle instantly as soon as the focus out season is over. So your entire club is doing that. And I think it's a fine balance. I think that stuff's so important. Like, it helped me a lot. It helped me in so many areas. But go back and forth on it. I feel like longevity, baseline defense is gonna, and also hurting myself in a scramble. Yeah. I've changed the way that I defend from that. So I think that there's both. I think both are so valuable. You have to have it. You have to have it when you're dead to rights and you're beat. You have to find a way to not get taken down. Can't give it up. Yeah. But you can put yourself in a better situation, safety-wise, your joints, as well as just like with baseline defense. So I see both sides of that, but definitely not a ton of baseline defense, anymore. But the evolvement of defending has changed significantly. So many people are so much better in so many other areas. That just the level of wrestling. I mean, it's crazy. The level of high school wrestling is it's just through the roof. I mean, these kids are so good now, so much training, that I think it's just, both areas have improved, but I still think baseline defense is a really solid option.
Yeah. A couple of my guys have been trying to get to do more, but then my other argument to James Green, and this is just me on the show, so maybe you listened, maybe you didn't, I don't know, is, if our baseline defense is bad, and when he said that, I felt the same way you did about Super 32s, but then on the other side of my brain, I said, well, at the same time, we're having more success at a U17, U20 level in freestyle than we ever have. So like, how do those two things pair together? And so for me, it feels like, well, we must be doing something right if we're having more success than we ever had at the age groups, even maybe it's not necessarily the basic baseline defense.
Well, I just think, more priority, like when I was coming up through, like U17s wasn't even thought about. It was just like, I went to the tournament. It was a tournament, it wasn't like, hey, you're making a world team. I think the emphasis of world team, but I also think our country, our kids are so offensively sound that they're scoring at a high rate. I think that we're winning at a high rate because of our offense, and we're ahead of our opponents at the U17 level and U20 level, I think, offensively. So we're not focused as much on like having to win on like defend to win. Most of our guys are offensive minded because that's what is being promoted in our country. If you want to be you can be a great wrestler, but if you go undefeated in college and you win by 1 point, no one talks about you. If you're pinning and teching everybody, that's how you're winning the Hodge Trophy, right? That's how you're winning outstanding wrestler. And that's what's being promoted. So kids are just like, well, I got to be offensively skilled and gifted. And I feel like it's kind of trumping the defensive side at that level. At this level, I feel like our country is ahead skill offensively wise than a lot of the other countries because we're being battle tested at a younger age more than those countries are.
Feel free not to answer this. You know what he just said that made me think about Christian was, well, given what you just said, David, who do you choose as the better college wrestler, given they both went out, Yanni or Spencer? Feel free not to answer if you don't want people mad at you.
They both,
because Spencer has been way more dominant, but has more losses. Yanni has significantly less losses, but is not nearly as dominant. And we've had this debate on the show probably like 3 times this fall already.
That's tough. I think from the outside looking in, Spencer's dominance is like 2 moves, right? He does 2 moves to everybody. And Yanni's skilled in a lot of areas. Spencer is too, but you don't see that as often in his matches. But Yanni doesn't put any effort on top. So his match, he's getting a bunch of takedowns, but no, running in top makes your life so easy. Oh, yeah. So I would say dominance wise, they're both really good. I think Spencer has a specific plan to get on top, get the turns, get off the mat. And I think the perception of dominance makes him seem more dominant, but Yanni he's really good in a lot of areas. So I just think you can argue for both of them. I don't necessarily say who's better. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, it's fair. That's why we always got to pick these type of things, and then people get really mad at us. And that's kind of one of the downfalls of being on the show.
Yeah. I think, Spencer can do a lot of things. You just don't see it very often because he just can do 2 things and kill everybody. Where Yanni, you see a much more wide skill set with him, but he's willing to put himself in a lot more situations. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. They're both really good.
Yeah. Christian, what else you guys got? I kind of stole the floor for a minute.
No,
there.
It's great. It's great. I was hoping that it would end up going down that road for sure. Well, obviously the big news for NLWC is your longtime friend and frequent training partner, Kyle Dakes, coming in. How much of an impact will that have on your training specifically with Kyle now being full-time at Penn State?
I think a pretty significant impact. Kyle and I's, history is pretty complex, over a period of time, but he's just the one guy in my life that when I wrestle, competition, training, whatever it is, I have to be on. And I just think when I wrestle him, there's no taking it for granted. If I come in and I don't feel great, you have to elevate your game when you're wrestling him. And I also feel like, we learn from each other really well. When we're training, we're talking about things, and I feel like he is, to this day, and I really isn't even close, the most technically sound person I've ever been around. There's not a position where he's not. I feel like he's the most technically sound person in every position. The difference between he and I typically is just I'm willing to put myself in more positions than he is. So I mean, if he wanted to score more points, he could almost in every match that he wrestles in. So knowing that when you wrestle him, like, man, every time you score on him, it's got to be perfect, and he has the ability to come back at any time, so you got to be on what you're doing. So I'm excited for that, and also from a training standpoint, but even from obviously our families have a lot of parallels, with our families and his kids and my kids. His house is literally like right down the street from mine. We're 2 minutes from each other, basically. So, looking forward to just spending more time with them on and off the mat. And I think it's a good move, for him and for everybody really in our program, because, how often do you get a chance to wrestle a 4-time world champion every single day that comes in, with a different mentality and perspective? We've all come through the same system, where he does things way different than what we do. And now blending that together, I just think it's a great situation, well-rounded for everybody. And, I'm excited for him to be here.
One other a question I had, just recalling previous interviews with you, David, like you had a really consistent like path in your mind for your goals. I remember you wanted to be 4-time state champ, 4-time national champ, world champ, Olympic champ. And I remember you often would talk about how you wanted to be a college coach. You wanted to coach in college. Has that changed at all for you? Since, I'm trying to think of the last time I heard you say that, but you've had clear goals. Is that still something you think about, or is the club scene where you kind of see your coaching talents going?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a time, probably, I don't know. It's been a while probably since I said that, but right now I'm 2024, after 2024, I'll reevaluate what's next, if it's training, competing, shifting to something else. The club, I really enjoy being a part of the kids' lives and to helping develop them. Now that's pretty cool. And I really love that. College coaching, I don't know, I'm not going to say no to it, but it's definitely not a yes. At this point, their job has evolved. It's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, I don't know. You never know what opportunities, will present themselves down the road. But at this point, I love to compete. I really love training the kids. So, right now that's what I really like to do.
Looking at the landscape of 86 and just long-term competition, you just alluded to it there that, after 24, there'll be an evaluation period, which to me says that, competing beyond 24 is something you're considering. Is that the case, David?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so hard. It changes all the time, like at this point, winning a second Olympic gold medal, that's the driving factor. There's only been 3 in the United States history, and we have a handful of people that can do it in this next Olympics, so that could drastically change. But that's, winning 1 gold medal is really difficult to do. Winning 2 is nearly impossible. Right. So I think it's, but I have a really great chance to do that. And I'm looking forward to that chance, looking forward to that opportunity to do that. But, I'll be 33, it'll be different. Just like I said, it's a different formula to win now than what it was as a younger kid. This year, I think I really proved to myself that I can do it. I compete at a very high level, doing it a little differently. And I really believe this year at the World Championships was the best I've ever competed ever, maybe in my life. So, that's exciting. And it when you talk about longevity, the way that I wrestle, I'm not relying on, like speed and strength all the time. I have my technique has always been my best thing, and I've added speed and strength as time has gone on. And I think technique it doesn't really have a shelf life. It doesn't really have a timeline. So I think it will really come down to is my will. What's after 2024, what's next? Do I want to continue to compete or not? We'll make that decision down the road. I think it's important to commit, for a period of time. Saying I'm going to compete to 2028 at this point, that's unrealistic right now. But after 2024, things change, and we'll see where my mind and my body is, and we'll make that decision when it comes.
In the summer of 2020, you had mentioned a desire to compete against Sadulayev. With 86 being a weight you've really dominated, save really one match. Is that still a match on your radar that you would like to have, that you would entertain that bout?
Definitely. I mean, right now for me, I just want to compete where and when I'm excited to compete. There's a few individuals that make me really excited that, yeah, I'm on, let's do that. There's only a few competitions where I feel that way. Anything outside of that, it's just, I'm probably not going to do those things. So, compete against the people that I want to compete against. And I believe, I've said this for a long time, if I have the will and the fire, I believe I'm the best and I won't be beaten. So, continue to stay true to that desire and, take it match by match, tournament by tournament.
Maybe taking yourself and your style out of the equation, could you, as someone with just a high level of knowledge about the sport, just talk about what makes Sadulayev so good, so tough to beat?
Well, I'd say the number one thing is he makes matches easy because he gets turns. He's like his time of competition has been so short because, it's pretty much he's going to take you down and tech fall you in the first 30 seconds, or he's going to win like 6-0 with pretty low effort, right? So the turns has made his career probably way easier, because he put that priority on it when he's just young wrestler. But he just has, he wrestles with his butt back, so it's hard for people to get to him. And when he commits to a shot, he rarely doesn't get it. He's got that really explosive, shot finish where he's not really stuck scrambling with people, So those two combinations in freestyle, those are really, quick finishes and turns on top. Not many people have even been competitive with them in his career. So, that's just been, for him at this point, it's I would say it's just, he's won everything and been so successful for so long. How much longer does he have that will to continue doing it? Because it's what do you, at some point you got to question, what am I doing this for? Maybe he doesn't have that, maybe he does, but that'll be interesting to kind of see how his career continues to, unfold as we move forward to, the next Olympic cycle and the one after that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see. He's competed every single year for a while now, and now he's got this time off because Russia's essentially not allowed to compete. And I don't know if you saw those pictures, but he's large and in charge right now. What's up?
I thought he was a heavyweight.
Yeah, for real. So he's actually probably kicking back and enjoying life. And sometimes when you do that, it's hard to get back into the swing of the grind, kind of when you're grinding and you're younger, it's well, that's just what you do every single day. And then if you take it, a time off, it's oh man, I think it's hard to get back to it.
Yeah. My wife and I went on vacation for 5 days. We haven't been on vacation in 3 years. And we went on vacation and it was well, I don't know if I want to go back home. It's just, you realize I can sleep in, I can eat whatever I want. And then you're you're home, back to reality. You're whoa, okay, wow. Sometimes when you're just busy all the time and you're focused, you don't realize how busy and focused you are until you're out of that. Wow, that gives you perspective. But on the flip side, I can tell you for certain that Kyle Snyder is so focused. He's at that point in his career, at his age, where he has that burning fire, and it's for one person. It's to do one thing, and he just keeps getting better and better and better, So, if that's a motivating factor for Sadulayev, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But I know Kyle wants that match. He's training with a super specific purpose, and he just keeps getting better. He's like a sponge, knowledge, he just continues to improve. So I'm really excited for Kyle. Just hopefully gets the opportunity to wrestle that match again here in the next, obviously it's going to happen in a year, maybe potentially before that. But, that's what makes the sport great, though, is having, people like that, having world Olympic champions in the same weight class, firing. And because without each one of those guys, what's the other person have to do it for? Without Yazdani, what's the reason for me to have to do this anymore? What's the reason for him to have to get better? So I think the world is, we got some really credentialed guys, and they're the fire for the other one, to continue doing it, which is pretty cool.
I'm sure that Kyle has learned a lot from you and the team, but what have you specifically learned from Kyle and being around him now as he's your teammate there at Nittany Lion?
I mean, Kyle is he's the most motivated person I've ever been around. I mean, he's just very specific in what he wants and what he needs. He has really specific areas that he wants to get better in. He works in those areas. And for a guy who's, the success that he had so young, I think he's way more motivated now than he was then. And he just keeps getting better. He's not like relaxing and just trying to continue to do the same things. When I wrestle him, there was a time before he came here, I used to wrestle him, and I felt like, all right, I could probably figure out some of these things, and do it. Now it's like it's every time I wrestle him, it's different. Like he's got, one day he's working on this thing, one day he's working on this thing, and he's so strong and explosive. Like, and if you're not 100% focused, the match gets out of hand fast, and it's just a testament to his will to be the best, and it makes me continue to get better because, there's no easy second when you're wrestling Kyle. So he brings the best out of you.
Switching gears a little bit, you recently announced that you were going to sign with Iridium Sports Agency. Could you talk a little bit about that decision and why Iridium was where you landed?
Yeah, I think, representation, I feel like for me, it's just I have a lot of things going on in my life, and I don't like negotiating with people. I don't like doing that kind of stuff. And a lot of times I end up just pushing it to the side. So having some people that can help me with those decisions and help me, kind of navigate specifically in the next 2 years, leading in the next Olympic cycle and beyond. I've known Izzy Silva for a really long time, and, he kind of introed me to the group, and, Jeremy and Jason, they just seem to have everything that I was looking for, that can help me, I think, with my career, on and off the mat. So, I'm excited what the future holds. It's a new partnership, and it's been pretty good so far.
You got the P&L hat. You and Ben and the Izzy and the whole crew put this awesome league together. Could you talk a little bit about M2's involvement and why you're excited about P&L?
I think it's the future. I really do. I think, there's probably a lot of reasons why I think it's really good, but one of which, it's just, we get on these calls, and you have, the league it's M2 Training Center, Young Guns, Izzy Style, Askren, Pinnacle, MWC, Valiant Prep, Cormier, and
I think you got them all.
Is that everybody? I have 7. I don't know if I missed one.
No, you got them all. You said all 8.
512 Outlaws, I think.
If I missed one, I apologize. But just that alone, just the people that are involved in those clubs, I feel like we all are in line with a lot of topics. So I think just, getting together and communicating, and obviously now, get our guys together and compete consistently. And I think that's one thing where everybody, wants, every kid, every parent wants people to go and have really good matches. Well, now when we go, you take those 8 clubs and you tier them and they'll wrestle each other. And so guys are going to get challenged, because most of the kids that are successful are coming through those clubs, and as we continue to expand, you're going to continue to evolve and get more and more people. And I just think I think we have a good plan, and looking forward to continue to compete and grow and just talking with these guys and talking about just different things, maybe things that we're going through in different clubs. And I think we have a lot of similar trial and error processes probably. But we have a 5th through 8th grade event in Arizona in December 17th. So we're going to do a clinic the day before, so all the kids can travel out there. They'll train with each other, and then they'll compete the next day. And then we'll have in April, also around that time, we're gonna have every club will bring their 5th through 12th grade team, and we'll compete against each other in Pennsylvania. And that event is going to be lights out. It's going to be exciting. It'll be all hands on deck. We'll all have time to prepare and get ready to compete. And it's going to be really exciting. And that's just the beginning. It's going to, obviously we'll continue to try and make it better processes for parents and for the athletes. But I just think I'm excited. I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm excited for the future.
You mentioned talking about your last year. It was the least competitions I think we'd seen you do maybe since you've started wrestling, perhaps, apart from the injury year. As you look towards this year in 2023, what is your competition schedule like? We have the World Cup in America in December. Have you considered competing in that? Have you put your calendar together at this point?
Yeah, I just actually sat down with Coach KC, and we kind of talked about the year and the plan. Still talking with Coach Zadek about what that looks like too. For me, obviously there are a lot of competition opportunities. Just like I said before, you just got to pick the right ones where, like I said, just if it's something that I feel excited and I want to do it, I'm going to be there. And if it's something that just doesn't really feel right, then maybe that's not the right opportunity for me at that time. I think for me, it's just that's a challenge. Is I have a lot of things going on, so it's just I can't balance all of it all the time, because I can never be my best at any of those things. So I have to be able to prioritize time to training, prioritize time to my club, to my family, to my wife, to my kids, to our juice business downtown, and to any other opportunity that comes up. You don't have time for all those things. And training to go and compete at the level I want to compete at, it takes 100%, and I can't be 100% all the time. So it's just got to be events that I'm ready and excited for, prepare, compete, kick butt, and then reevaluate for the next one. So obviously I think Final X is June 10th. So I'll be at Final X, and then we'll work backwards from there and see what makes the most sense.
Cool. Well, obviously the wrestling fans would love to see you at World Cup. We'll have a great team there for Team USA regardless.
Oh, yeah. Are you coming to World Cup? We're bringing a bunch of AWA guys. I got to know if they can expect you or not.
Yeah. Who are you talking about, Christian? Christian? The AWA guys want to meet Christian?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yes. They do. They're huge Christian Piles fans.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm certain of that. Well, David, I know you gotta go. I think you have a practice this morning, so don't want to keep you from that. But do you have anything else before we let you go?
No, it's good. It's good talking with you guys. Looking forward to all the fun stuff coming up.
Yeah, well, really appreciate you coming on. Great catching up with you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and can't wait to watch whenever you compete again. Thanks so much, David.
All right, see you guys.
There it is, David Taylor. He's the man. That was stuff. I could have had him on for another hour and a half. I had a lot of questions to ask him. That was a lot of fun. It was really cool hearing you two go back and forth. And
I didn't want to monopolize the time, so I got a bunch of good questions in there.
Listen, man, let's be real. People want to hear Ben Askren and David Taylor talk to each other.
Yeah, I'm excited. I also excited for the P&L, and he kind of said this, is that it is fun when we all get on the call and we all have such similar mindsets to the way we're training kids and the way we approach our clubs and that type of stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. It seems like a great idea. Okay, fun stuff there. Maybe before we turn the page, anything else to talk about just based on the conversation we just had with David?
So he was just telling me he told us at the end that he wasn't sure if he was competing at the World Cup.
Yeah, he was not definitive there.
He's not definitive because he's kind of dodged that question.
Well, I think he probably doesn't know.
Yeah, I know.
If I had to guess, although I'm betting he does probably know if he's wrestling at World Cup at this point.
I wonder if it could be heavily dependent on is Iran going to get visas and get in? Because if they don't get in, then who does he want to wrestle? Yeah.
And then is Yazdani going to come for that? You would think.
Yeah.
I don't know how you view that rivalry, and maybe I mentioned this already, like after it happened, but maybe I didn't. But man, after a loss like that, does that start to really get in Yazdani's head? That
Yeah,
man,
that was
maybe
a bad one.
I beat this guy one time ever. It was 3 months after he beat me for the biggest match of our lives, and maybe I just can't beat this guy.
Yeah,
That maybe enters in.
yeah, I think so.
Did that ever enter in with you with Chris?
No, but I was really young. I think I was young and probably naive a little bit of just and that, I mean as a competitor, that's a healthy thing, right? To be young and naive and just keep going after him. But obviously Yazdani's, I mean, he's got to be 30, and I mean, I guess the other thing, even for me in those years, my growth was so rapid, and it's like I'm getting so much better so fast. I'm going to catch up to him, And if you can like even look at my freshman year versus my sophomore year, my dominance level against everybody else, like against the field, if the field was here and I was here, I went like this above the field. I just didn't catch up to him.
Mm-hmm. Yazdani's only 27.
That's it? No,
Yeah.
they're lying. That's one of those where they lied on his age.
Yeah, man. No, man. Remember him?
Pico in like the Junior World Finals in like 2013 or something.
Yeah, Pico's still young
2014. How old do you think Aaron Pico is?
Yeah, but they're probably lying. No. But we actually tell the truth on our age for the.
No, but think about his growth trajectory though, like, and without making insinuations beyond that, like he grew as a man. I'm trying to hedge you off.
Insinuations, given the amount of failed tests Iran has.
Absolutely, but this is a man whose frame,
like his height,
he was a literal 66,
I got you.
and so I think he's true. I mean, you could look
You
at
think
him
he's
then.
actually that young.
Yeah, I think he's actually 27.
That's fair.
So anyway, man, I had another follow up that was probably better than that, but now the moment's gone.
It's interesting to think about how good David Taylor is and how much he's grown and as a wrestler and how much his training has evolved. And it seemed like getting Kyle Dake there is like this I don't know, this missing piece that could level him up even more, which is a crazy thing to think about. And even the fact that he's considering 2028, you got to wonder if Dake is thinking the same thing, if he's making this move.
I think he is. I think he is.
Do you think David, I felt like David wasn't really, I don't want to say he was kind of non-committal, but and I did the math and he would be 37 going on 38 in 2028. And I kind of felt like when he answered that question, he's like, nah.
Well, I don't think so.
That's how it made me feel.
Don't you think?
I don't think so.
Don't you think
That's not how I saw it.
Don't you think Jordan Burroughs has moved the goalposts on that? Like,
yeah, I mean, but at 32, the goalpost is already moved. He's gonna be 34 in 2024. The goalpost has already been moved.
How old's Burroughs gonna be in 2024? Like when he wraps up, 36,
35.
He's 34. 36? He's 34. July 8th.
So he'll be turning. So he'll be 35 at the trials, and then if he makes the team, he'd be 36 in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, no, I think the goalposts have absolutely been moved, but I think 38 is.
But he even talked to Ben. He even said like, man, technique doesn't age. Like he even was giving like kind of stating the case for why. And here's my thing on why I think he's
so much better than everyone else besides Yazdani.
He's so much better than his best competition is likely gonna come. I mean, Russia. I don't see anyone in the rear view. I mean, they're number one.
We haven't seen them in a minute though, so
they're not close. But yeah, but come on, in 2021 they weren't close.
Yeah.
So you say Aaron Brooks? I mean, it's going to be someone domestic, right? So I think that's my thought.
I don't know, but so I saw you're saying. I mean, the other thing is some of these guys come out so young, like say a Sadulayev, right? I mean, he came out and won a world title in a year.
Yazdani was such a rarity. I mean, he is a one of one for his
Yazdani
age.
Wasn't that much different. From when he wrestled in Junior Worlds to when he won the Olympics in 2016.
Yeah, he won Junior Worlds in 14 and the Olympics in 16 for sure. Yeah. Listen, you kind of see those guys coming a little bit, right? Everyone saw Sadulayev coming in 2013. What he did at Cadet Worlds, he was on everyone's radar, and I think he'll be able to in 2024. he can make an assessment of where he's at domestically. He's going to know, all right, hey, no one's close. If he's still beating guys in Final X or the trials the way he did this year, it's like, okay, I'm on the team, basically. And now let me look at internationally. Okay, there's Yazdani still. He'll probably be like 8-1 against him at that point, if not worse.
Yeah.
And then if Russia doesn't have anything come through, and don't underestimate the impact of this war on.
So listen, I don't think it would be. I guess we're getting deep into the weeds on competitive decisions. I don't really think it's going to be a competitive decision. I think it's just going to be like, I want to do something else in my life. I'm 34. Maybe. I've been wrestling year round since we said 7th grade, which is like 12 years old, 22 years, and I want to do something else. That I think would probably be more than other things.
Sure. But if he hadn't said it, I kind of would have assumed 24 was the end, despite him knowing he could go beyond and still be really competitive. But I think the landscape factor is something that puts him in the direction of continuing to compete. And obviously it's not a decision he's going to make anytime soon. But the way he was talking, and also I think I have to assume that over the last year where he had to train differently and not compete and did not put as many, miles on the tires, he's like, man, I could really train differently as I age and still be high level. He just had the best performance of his entire life, according to him, at the age he is now. So, I don't know.
And as far as wanting to do other things with his life, I mean, he already is. He's
here he is. Yeah.
He owns multiple businesses. He's involved at a high level in a bunch of different things, and I do think that, especially that group of Dake, Taylor, and Burroughs, those guys are competitive, and now really the last way that those guys are gonna defeat or dethrone Jordan Burroughs is legacy and number of titles. And so I don't know. I don't know how much those guys think about that or care about that, but I wonder.
I mean, that would be the argument that would, I think if there's any argument that's going to sway him, that would be the one right there.
Yeah. I mean, two back-to-back Olympic champions, there's who even has that opportunity? Gable.
He said there's only been 3 ever. And then, so obviously Burroughs could win a second Olympic title. He could. And then Snyder.
And Gable.
Oh, he's retired. Get out of here.
Bro. Give me a break. He ain't retired.
He's retired.
That is crazy that we have 4 people that could do it.
Yeah. But it's hard to do. I mean, just the number of people that make back-to-back Olympic teams is really, really small. It's just hard to get on the team, and to win the title back-to-back times is insane.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I mean, I think, it's everything could change, right? He could have another injury or something, anything could happen. But I think right now, I wouldn't rule it out, him going beyond 24. And I think if Dake goes beyond 24, which I kind of think is going to happen, then does that keep David? It's like, all right, I got my buddy here. I've got this. Everything's rolling. M2 is going to still be rolling. It's going to be awesome. Like, I don't know. Maybe he'll think that's the way to go. It'll be interesting.
Hey, can I do a sidebar? Since you brought this up, and I would really like to know. I'm very curious.
Okay.
We need a flow quant division here.
Oh, here we go.
So, here we go. And you could do just a data point one time a year would be satisfactory. I mean, obviously you could do it in every single rankings, right? But sometimes it feels like Pennsylvania, where M2 is located. I mean, they also have Young Guns, top club, and they're in P&L. Sometimes it feels like they're so far ahead. Like at Fargo in places, it doesn't. And then you see these dudes at Super 32, and you're like, I've never heard this dude's name in my life. Maybe he just doesn't even wrestle freestyle or something. I don't know what he's doing. I've never seen him before. How many of so let's see, 14 times 20, 280. You have 280 ranked high school kids. What percentage comes from each state, right? Or what is the average amount of the 280? What's the average amount that Pennsylvania has, right? Is it down? Is it up? Does it go like this? Like, what do you think?
I bet in terms of just broadly ranked wrestlers, I bet it's not a large deviation either way.
Over the past, say 10 years.
Yeah, I bet it's not a huge deviation. I think on the high end, obviously, we've seen, a downward trend slightly, right?
Really? Well, I think sometimes just you and I think probably everyone else, sometimes we get swayed by those top couple guys,
That's
whereas
what the
you
number ones
don't
are.
think as much. Well, you don't think I'm saying just number ranked guys, so you don't think as much about the 13, 17, 18 guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we're agreeing. I thought you were pushing back, but
Okay. No.
Yeah. So I think probably overall, and we could do it. We got the quant division working.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it right now. I'm gonna pull up.
He's gonna quant it up.
I'm gonna pull it up for you.
How are you gonna pull that up?
He's gonna pull it up.
I got it. Don't you worry.
He has a quant division under his
computer.
Under his employee.
In his computer.
Yes.
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna tell you how many ranked guys are from Pennsylvania here in just one second.
While he calculates, shout out to our U23 ladies. Got 4 in the semis. That's awesome. Those will be later.
Starting at 9:45. Starting at like 35 minutes.
Okay, as soon as the show ends, go watch Team USA. Get it done.
What, 4 in the semis out of 5, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Wait, so I'm very curious. Are you doing like a search function or something to this?
Don't
effect?
worry.
Don't tell him.
You wouldn't understand.
This is proprietary in nature, sir.
You know what? Hey, you know what? This is totally non-wrestling, Christian. You know what? Things on social media I just can't look away from.
What?
And it's this, I'm gaining valuable information in my brain, so I don't want to say it's all bad, but sometimes I'm like, why am I staring at this thing? This is preposterous. Because I don't do like a lot of people like read comments and stuff. Like I don't ever read the comments, so I don't waste my time on that. Those like they're usually bar graphs over like a course of 50 years where they update every single year, and you see the movement of like it could be like market cap of companies, right? Or like some type of statistic like this, and you watch them go. What?
The price of Bitcoin.
Oh, that would be a thing. No. It'd be it's something that has multiple choice over here, right? So there's like largest market cap companies in the U.S.
Gotcha.
Over the last 50 years, or like what was one that I really just? There was one about countries. What the hell was it? I think it was like military spending per country or something, and you watch it go up over the course of 50 years or whatever. I really enjoy those charts. I know I'm gaining information, but sometimes I feel like, why am I staring at this thing? But then I'm like, I want to see where it goes. I want to see where it ends at. Do you know what I'm talking about or no? Sucker for the bar graphs.
I haven't seen. I mean, I know what bar graphs are, but I haven't seen these. I'm sorry, I can't.
I'll send you. Next time I see one, I'm gonna send it to you. You got an answer for us yet?
Yeah, Pennsylvania has 52 of the nationally ranked top 20, so that's 18.5% of the ranked kids in the country.
Holy crap!
Live right there.
That's got to be more than usual, right?
You think?
It is. It's more than there were at the PIAA state tournament last year. So it's crazy because I remember the first year I went to PIAA's was 2020, and there were around 40, high 40s to 50 ranked kids. It was around this number.
Well, that's similar.
And then last year it was between like 30 and 35 ranked kids. It had really dipped.
Wow, that's crazy. It would fluctuate that much in a single year.
But you could see these freshmen. Well, also there are PA kids that are not at PIAA's, right? Like last year, there were a bunch at Malvern.
Like national prep kids,
and then even like some Bishop McCourt kids that can't compete there. That's a few of them. Levi Haynes didn't last year, so there's some of that. But it seemed a little.
Why
didn't
Levi Haynes wrestle last year?
He just trained at Nittany Lion Wrestling Club.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. Yeah, and so obviously, I guess Pennsylvania and New Jersey, to an extent, a couple of these places would have, like Wyoming Sim, those kids are all considered Pennsylvania kids, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jersey would have that also.
Yeah, Jersey has 31 ranked kids, which is, I'll tell you the percentage. That's like 11% of the nation's top 20s. I wonder what Wisconsin is. We're gonna find out.
We got so I think we are, because I was thinking it's like how much we've moved up. I think we have 9 or 10 right now would be my guess, and then. Are the new rankings out, PS?
Yeah, they're out. Don't sell yourself short. You got 11.
11. Okay, I was thinking 9, 10. Someone else got in that I wasn't thinking about then. But I know, historically, I could tell you that's significantly higher than we were, say, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But that's how I'm thinking about for our club, is like how many can we get in the national rankings? And then, where does that compare to where we've been historically as a state?
Hey, 7 of those 11 in Wisconsin, by the way, are in the top 10. So that's good.
Grayson,
Yeah.
big jump. He went from like
Where'd he
19
go?
to 5 or something.
Mm-hmm.
5. There we go. Good job, Grayson Clark.
Dude, his top work is impressive.
Tough on top. Coach Wagner was tough on top back in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone good on
Right.
top of that whole AWA operation. Finally,
Uh,
you need that.
It's about time.
About time you address that.
Nice.
Man,
Ben Bass, number 9. Let's go, Ben. This Marcelo Milani kid that he went to 6. I've seen him for years. I want to say he used to come to one of our tournaments, and he's always been really tough. So it's interesting to see him bump that high up now because
Big jump.
he's
Yeah,
kind of been really tough for a while.
He had a massive jump. Yeah, he's kind of waiting for a performance like that. But 120, I mean, you're talking about 120 rankings. That weight is so deep.
Yes.
It is crazy to see that. Hey, what do you think about the top 3? I'm really curious to get your guys' perspective on this because I heard you guys talking about it on the show yesterday. And yesterday, you guys were saying, hey, Lilidol won the tournament.
I'm good with this.
Make him 1. And I think in some cases I would have done that. But I kept Jax Forrest number 1.
That's what I think. I think I said I probably would have done that, and then but I think the other 2 they overruled me. They didn't like that.
Here's why. In the case of Jax Forrest, this kid, in the months of just in the month of October, he has a head-to-head over Lilidol, and Lilidol has the head-to-head over Rainey. Rainey has 2 losses in the month of October, right? One of them is to Bast. That's part of it. But then if you just zoom out to September and October, Jax Forrest has I think 11 ranked wins, including wins over Nate Jezeroga,
11,
who's a world medalist.
That's so crazy.
And Luke Lilidol, who's a world champ. So that's why at this weight, to me, it made sense to do that. Now, I was talking to Nomad about this last night. The thing that really matters in this whole weight is what they do at seeds at Ironman because Forrest, Lilidol, and Rainey are all going to be there.
oh my God.
And
Ooh, nice.
So which guys end up on the same side of the bracket?
That's where I get sad because none of our Wisconsin guys get to go to that type of fun stuff.
Yeah. Now, if for seeding for a tournament like that, I would have no problem with Lilidol 1, Rainey 2, Forrest 3, and force
That's
the
fair.
rematch. Force 3 rematch. I think for seeding that makes sense, but thinking about the purpose of a national high school ranking, I think you got to. To me, I think you got to zoom out a little bit, and that's why I went Forrest, Lilidol, Rainey 1, 2, 3.
I like it.
Yeah,
That's what I would want.
I think I said I would have gone with Lilidol 1 just because he won the tournament. All the guys were at, and I know he had lost very narrowly to Jax a week or 2 before. But to me, I look at it and my whole perspective, I won't completely get into it, but it's Super 32 is that NCAA's type of competition for high school wrestling. And kind of the results of that, if all the guys are there, should be the ranking result in general. For guys at this level, I would say. So
Yeah.
I think Luke is who I would rank number 1. Obviously, Jax's resume makes it really tough to make that move. And in general, it would be a lot easier decision, but Jax Forrest made it a lot tougher. So I would do it differently, but I also am not this is not one of the rankings where I'm jumping up and down mad about.
It's it's such a great top 3 because you have Forrest who competes everywhere and has just a million ranked wins. You have Lilidol who's a world champ and who won the big tournament and he's won it twice now. He's won Super 32s back-to-back years. And then you have Rainey who is just he's
just a landmine.
He's just an element of danger.
Yeah.
Element of danger.
The guy he's just always hunting. He's always hunting. And I love that about that kid. So that's an incredible top 3. The fact that we're going to see them all in another bracket again in a month and a half is awesome to think about. And Marcus Blaze will be in that bracket too.
So is this going to be Bishop McCourt's? Is it going to be that 13, 20, 26? Is that going to be it for them?
Wait, sorry, say it again. What about Bishop McCourt?
So Bishop McCourt, right? Are they going to? Is this going to be their lineup where they go 13 Bassett, 20 Forrest, 26 Gibson?
You know what? Good point. I don't.
Or are they going to move it around?
They may have to move it around. I don't know that Bassett's going to hold.
Feels like
13.
a lot for Bassett to make 13 the whole season.
Yeah, so we may not get this actually. So it may end up being Bassett 20, Forrest 26, Gibson 32, Herring 38. That's I've heard that theorized. I don't know for sure what they're gonna do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So any other you have the you do the thankless task of being a high school ranker, which means you are your email box.
It's almost all thank you notes. It's almost all thank you notes in the inbox.
I can't imagine that's the case.
No.
You're just biased.
Great job on the rankings. That's all they say. They just say great job. Great job. No complaints at all.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other thoughts on the rankings?
Oh man, there a million, but I think a couple people that jumped up that everybody should keep their eyes on. One is a sophomore 170 pounder from Colorado, Ty Ice, and it's not spelled Ice, E-I-S-E. That guy had an incredible tournament, and I've heard college coaches who have been watching this guy say, like, just wait, he's gonna have this kind of a performance, and sure enough, he did. Finished third, beat a whole bunch of ranked guys. So that guy, super young, and he looks like he's physically still got. I mean, he's very developed, but he's gonna keep getting stronger and better. And so, awesome performance. He went from unranked to number 5, and then the other Colorado guy, I think you guys maybe talked about him yesterday, who made a big jump up, was Weston Dalton.
Roadhouse's kid.
Yeah,
right.
James's son.
That's right. But this guy beat Joel Adams, Coy Biskin, Sam Cartella. Those are all awesome wins, and so a couple Colorado guys making big moves.
Wow. So you love that.
Typical Colorado bias.
Actually, hey, we got we didn't talk about, and Bray, where did you go to college?
Northwestern College is an NAIA school in Iowa.
Not Northwest. We got
not Northwest College where the bear attack was. Not Northwestern University.
I thought that for a second.
No, different.
Let's talk about this bear attack. This dude just jumped. I've always wanted to wrestle a bear, and this guy got to do it for real. What a hero.
I think you're learning that you don't want to wrestle a bear.
Well, I would put a muzzle on him. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like Wayne Boyd did?
I wish they had thought of that.
Yes, like Wayne Boyd. I don't know if they could have done that in the wild.
So, crazy story. It's been making the rounds big time in wrestling. But these 2 wrestlers, actually it was 4 wrestlers, were out on a hike. They were shed hunting, which is like when you go around just look for antlers, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. What I've never heard of this. The antlers shed? They call it shed hunting?
Yeah. So the
how do
deer,
you know this?
The deer, the elk shed their antlers. And I go around and try to find it.
I think shed hunting is cool, but the funny thing is when people talk about their upcoming hunting trip and don't tell you that it's shed hunting.
You're walking around looking for antlers.
It's a scavenger hunt, but it's a cool thing to do.
It's a scavenger hunt.
The people that pretend like they're out, nabbing big game are the ones. But apparently it's pretty dangerous. It can be.
Evidently. So these guys are it's like basically northwest Wyoming, in the wild, looking around. And out of nowhere, as bear attacks often are, this one kid gets attacked by the bear, and his friend ends up jumping. Well, first they tried to yell at it and throw stuff at it, and he was just attacking his friend. So then he gets on top of it, rips it by the ear, and he gets totally messed up. The bear turns on him, and he gets the worst of it by far. His face is all scarred up where he's been bit and everything. But they eventually fight it off and run the bear away, and they had to get rescued, and it's a whole thing. But basically, this kid totally saved his friend's life. So it was Kendall Cummings and I want to get both their names. Brady Lowry are the 2. So Kendall was the one that jumped in, I believe, and saved the friend who was initially attacked. Totally insane. And it was a grizzly bear.
So insane.
I mean, it's like, what the heck? Such a wrestler thing. Fighting there, you see the picture of the 2 in the hospital. Brady has a broken arm and lacerations on his back, and obviously you can see that Kendall's face is pretty damaged, and he's got some pretty serious injuries. He will be released. Brady's out of the hospital, it sounds like, and Kendall will be released later this week. But just an incredible story from these 2, and obviously we're reaching out to them and going to try to catch up with them and tell their story a little bit. But man, what an incredible thing.
Yeah, for real.
Insane. Good job by those guys. That's some real fear. I wonder how much in the moment are you just like, is it even a thought like to go help? Like, is it just like, is it almost like instinctual?
I think that speaks to who people are, right?
Yeah. You just like who you are just kind of kicks in immediately. It's like not, you don't like do like a threat assessment or anything. You're just like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Fight or flight, right? Some people run, some people fight.
Yeah. These two fought and, yeah, and this is a dangerous time for any of you listeners there in the areas of bears because they're getting ready to hibernate, so they're storing up. They're all kinds of pissed off. So you gotta know that.
You think bears get pissed off before they hibernate, or you think they're like
they're desperate?
I get to go take a nap for 4 months.
Dude, they're desperate. They're freaking out.
They start a lot of times they start running out of food, like the rivers where the fish are. Well, probably not Wyoming, but like a lot of areas, the water level starts to drop. It's harder to get fish after the fish like spawn and everything. Like they've started to run out of that food source, and they're just man, they're looking.
Christian, I expected David to know more about the outdoors. I'm kind of surprised by your knowledge of outdoors. I never heard of shed hunting, and now you're talking about bears are getting desperate in October. Man, I didn't know you were such an outdoorsman.
That doesn't make me an outdoors. Well, not that I'm not an outdoors type of person, but I'm interested in animals.
You've seen your fair share of Alone.
I watch a lot of Alone.
That's where all this comes from.
No,
all this comes from.
It actually doesn't. Well, have you seen The Grizzly Man?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's tremendous. The dude gets eaten. Well, because he's got some mental disorder or something. I mean, why he thinks he's friends with the bears? What's wrong with him?
Yeah,
those are bears.
Let's say it's not your boy. But it is interesting because in many ways he was sort of, I won't say taken in, but accepted. Like he was able to have extremely intimate, close interactions with bears. But and he also was super aware of the ones that were dangerous too. And he was super in tune with them.
Not aware enough.
Not until he was he was really aware of the calendar, right? Like he was aware of this, what we're saying, this is the dangerous time. And he wouldn't be there until the end. And he's like, I'm going to push my luck. I'm going to go back. Because somebody had a weird interaction with him in an airport or something.
Oh, really? I didn't know that part.
What?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
That movie, Grizzly Man. Yeah, he would always leave right before this dangerous time because the bears were getting super agitated and whatever. And so he left. And then I think I can't remember, it was an airport or somewhere. He had some negative interaction. He's like, forget this. I'm leaving
people.
Society entirely. I'm going back to my bears. And it was just a little too late.
Yeah. And so the one just happened upon him or I think it was at his camp actually.
Yeah.
The things are desperate and he got totally devoured. As did his girlfriend, which is very sad that he kind of, it's one thing to have this, sort of passively suicidal passion, but to bring someone else along is very, very selfish of him. Now they're both sadly passed away. But yeah, crazy story. That guy really liked bears a lot. A little too much, obviously. But yeah, wildlife's interesting to me for sure. Anyway,
I bet you're a big fan of Shark Week.
Dude, that's my thing. I was obsessed.
No, I didn't know. I just guessed.
Bro,
I knew it.
Obsessed with sharks as a kid. Obsessed. I had all these books, all this stuff. I had all this knowledge about sharks. My dad found this book that I wrote in second or third grade book that I wrote. But like you do in elementary school, and it was all about sharks. And the last page is sometimes the sharks eat their babies. It's that's literally the last page. That's how I concluded the book. Sometimes sharks eat their babies, which is true.
Is that true?
It's true.
Story?
Shark Week used to be great because
it's not as good anymore.
It used to be just a bunch of videos of people telling you that you can punch sharks. They're just world's most punchable animal. Shark comes up, punch him in the nose. That was just, here you go, look, punching a shark. But then they started doing all this crazy stuff, pretending they were going to have Michael Phelps race a shark.
Yeah,
which was, let's see it. Let's throw Michael Phelps in the pool with the shark and see what happens. That's what I thought was going to happen.
That's not competitive.
I'm
just going to tell you.
They hyped it up so much.
Non-expert.
It wasn't even it was a simulation. They hyped it up so much and it wasn't even a real race. They didn't throw Michael Phelps in the pool with the shark.
That's extra dumb.
It was stupid. So I'm out on Shark Week. But
who would think for a second, I don't know, Phelps might get it. He's the fastest swimmer. What in the world? That's just such a stupid premise. It's like what?
Stupid. So dumb.
Like Phelps' agent is a real legend for like Snow and Discovery Channel or whoever on that. 'Cause wow.
He didn't even have to swim against a real shark. It was stupid. They should just go back to punching sharks in the face.
Punch him in the face. I like to. I like that. I like the dangerous stories. I like hearing.
You
about
guys are off the rails right now. I should not have even brought up Shark Week. I brought up Shark Week, and you two just went nuts for like 5 minutes.
Well, you hit a nerve.
Published author over here.
Yeah, I'm a published author at Churchville Elementary, Miss Hart's class. Okay, so yeah, that's we went from bears to sharks, and there we are. Man, so funny. Was it yesterday's show or Monday's show? You brought up the forums getting shut down, the Met forums, Ben.
Yeah, I saw you posted in here. I'm very curious to see what you're gonna say.
So it's so funny. So I really have not been in the forums much. Wow, but I've been checking in now that they're kind of RIP, and there's a thread called Last Word that was recently started where they're talking about it. Well, they're not talking about anything. It's just about like getting kind of the last word before the forum gets shut down. So it's talking about this, and then it devolves to this cool thing where they're the song American Pie by Don McLean, the classic, and all these posters are like putting in a line from American Pie, but it's about the forum going away, and it has the most hilarious kind of conclusion. Here, I'll try to read it. I'll read it in the order that everything happens, and I think you'll think it's funny. Okay. Long time ago, I can still remember how the forum used to make me smile. New post. And I knew if I had a chance, I could make that forum dance. New post. And these are all new people just kind of contributing and building on the song,
really?
Right? Yeah. Okay. And maybe they'd be happy for a while, but November made me shiver. New post. With every post I deliver. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. And then it goes, new post. I can't remember if I cried when Colat lost to Ironside, and how Iowa posters hurt me deep inside the day the forum died. New post. So bye. Next post. Dominique Parrish has the most ranking points of any woman wrestler worldwide in 2022. Like what? Like everyone's going along with this song, and then Dominique Parrish has the most ranking points of any woman wrestler worldwide in 2022, which is a fantastic stat. But how are you not reading this thread back and forth, like building on the song? It's like someone goes, and someone replies to that, and what does that have to do with Don McLean?
That's what's in, man.
So they kind of blew it.
Wow.
I stopped reading after that because that is either like just you're not following the plot at all, or the most hilarious troll ever. I don't know which one it was, but either way, it made me laugh tremendously.
Oh, it makes me laugh too.
If you wanna laugh,
that line about Cole losing to Ironside was tremendous.
Yeah, that was great. I can't remember if I cried when not Widow.
And Iowa fans hurt me deep inside.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's so funny.
What a team effort.
What a team effort. That's the most united the forum had ever been. And then we've got, a stat bomb. Okay, I had to get that. So, hey, what do you make of? We didn't talk about Gable Dan. Do you really think he's done forever? Like, he really won't wrestle another international match? Ben?
I mean, what's the upside to him? So, if he really goes and trains full time for WWE and gets ready, and is really getting ready for that, what's the upside to him coming back if he's training barely at all for real freestyle? He already did the damn thing. Like, the only way he's got is to go down. It's not like he took silver and he wants to go get that gold.
Because he's a competitor.
Yeah, that'd be it. Like, he has this urge.
But that's not just like an aside. That's like the thing.
Yeah.
This is a guy who competes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think there's a small chance. I don't think it's a big chance.
Really? Small.
Yeah.
Small. I think.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think he's really good at what he does. I think he's going to take to the WWE thing. I think he's going to start killing it. I think he's going to be a star with not that much time in it. And then there'll be a small part of him that says, hey, I want to go back and I want to go wrestle and I want to go beat Zari or whatever. And then it's like, well, where am I going to find all the time to compete when I'm on the TV freaking 3 times a week? When they got me flying around all over the place doing these appearances and shows and all this stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a very low percentage that Gable never does a wrestling match again, internationally
Yes.
or otherwise.
Wait, you said low? There's a low percentage he doesn't?
Low percentage. I'd be so surprised if someone told me right now they were an oracle and they said Gable will never wrestle another match again in his life. I'd say no way.
I'm about 50-50.
No, I think a greater chance than that. I would say
that's where I'm at. You could do whatever you want. That's your feelings.
I'm saying 80-20.
I'm 50-50.
80-20.
I'm 50-50.
He'll wrestle again for sure. At some point. Who knows if we'll even be doing that show at that point. This kid is so young. He could, 10 years from now, he could do it. But I think he will. I think he will in the next 5 years for sure. Just an opinion. No inside info. Just literally an opinion. Okay.
Just an opinion.
That's all I had. Do we have, I know some people had some questions for David that we didn't get to ask, unfortunately. But any other thoughts before we go? This has been fun.
No, this was fun. Really, really fun show. Reminder, I will not be here for the next 2 shows because I actually am going to be a published author. I'm going on a quick little book tour. I'm making a stop in Las Vegas and then Columbia, Missouri. I'll be there this weekend at the football game. And then I'm going to be in Miami next Monday. Since you moved you didn't tell me that you were moving the show to Monday, so I'm actually going to miss Monday's show. Maybe I'll call him for a few minutes.
You can call in from the book tour, Mr. Author Ben.
It's just a short one. But I'm coming live to Austin before the All-Star next month. I'm pumped for that. It's going to be awesome.
That will be awesome.
So that week we'll probably do shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because it's Thanksgiving week.
I'd love to read your book, Ben.
I swear I sent one. Ask Bader. Bader probably doesn't know how to read. I sent him one also. So just go take his
stuff. Wow, Joe Caprino just asked if it was a coloring book, Ben. Wow. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna take that?
Joe Caprino.
You might have to. He thought he could get that jab in and no one would see it, just the boys. But I'm watching, Joe. You get your little bar band. Now you have to deal with the wrath of Ben. And what if it was a coloring book, Joe? Would that be so wrong?
It'd be a great coloring book. Outstanding coloring. Actually, I was in a color. Hold on. Give me 10 seconds.
Uh-oh. He's getting his coloring book.
All right.
Going 10 seconds. I don't think he's peeing.
No, I don't think so either. But this would be a great.
You know what? I should do a giveaway. This is not my book. But my kids actually enjoy this. So do you remember these people?
Oh yeah.
There's a free advertisement for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then did you see they also made I only took one out for my kids. They also made it's a coloring book. Look at this.
Oh.
So boom, look at that. Joe Caprino. I'm already in a coloring book, baby. You ain't gotta talk no trash.
Wow.
Look right here. Look at that. There you go, Joe Caprino. You can color that.
Well, look at you, just kind of cuddling with the letter A.
No, I got a hold on him there. It's kind of looks like jiu-jitsu because it's kind of like I got a body triangle and then a rear naked choke is actually kind of what it looks like.
It kind of looks like just a warm snuggle session.
All right, I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
All right, guys.
Only one that gets warm snuggle sessions for me is my wife, and I might go give her one right now.
Oh boy, snuggle up, buddy. It's snuggle season. It was 42 this morning here in Texas.
Kind of cold. No, not in Austin. Only in Wisconsin.
It really was.
No, it really was 42 here.
No, you guys are soft.
We're not. We're literally just saying the temperature. We're not even saying, it was cold.
But they are. People here are soft.
People here are soft.
Try to be tougher.
That is true. But it was. Oh wow, 51 now.
See, but it wasn't.
Temperature's
51 now. That's with the sun. We had no sun before.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize this has got a. Speaking of poems, Christian, this has a poem on the back. You want to hear it?
Speaking of poems,
yeah.
Poem. You said poem. There is no ordinary alphabet. Instead of apple, we have Askren. Instead of ball, we have brands. Instead of cat, we have kale. Boom! Tremendous.
Wow. I don't know if that's a poem, but
it's great.
That's a damn poem. A poem is like anything where you put some words together. That's it. There's like 74 different kinds of poems. They can rhyme.
This whole show's been a poem. This is one of my longest poems yet.
This has been one long spoken word.
Yes. Slam poetry. All right. We're slamming out of here.
Right,
thank you guys so much. We'll be back tomorrow. Listen to this music. Oh, a little funk for the funky one. Okay, that's good. In honor of his book tour, which is going to exclude his radio audience, unless you're in Vegas or Columbia, Missouri. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks to David Taylor for hopping on. Congrats to him and Iridium Sports Agency. And thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday. We're going to get some tacos. Goodbye.